Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of our IRRV Severnside Southwest Sponsor Spotlight Series. I'm joined today by Ian Savigar and also Emma Watson from Rundles. Emma, would you like to just say hello to everybody today and just explain a little bit about your role and your career today, please?
Yeah, of course. So, hello everybody. Thanks first of all for inviting me along to have a chat with you today. So as Tom said, my name's Emma Watson. I work for Rundles, who are an enforcement company. I've worked for Rundles since January 25. So 18 months, and I'm pretty much the new girl. I mean, I'm sure we'll get on to talking about Rundles later, but we've got some people at Rundles that have worked there a long time. So I really am the new girl there. But having said that, my career in enforcement goes back to 2012. So I've worked at a couple of different companies, had a couple of years out of enforcement, thought at the time, let's try something different, worked for a really big outsourced processing company, again, bidding for massive central government contracts, but I got really bored and decided that enforcement was actually more exciting than I thought it was when I left. So I came back and joined Amy in the team last January. But my role at Rundles is head of bids and marketing. So I work directly with Amy and the senior management team and get involved in lots and lots of things, really. So I've managed the bid team, I managed our marketing, also work really closely with our sales guys, with Nick Francis and Gary Clark. And then do lots of other things on the side. So one of the projects that Amy asked me to look at when I joined last year was looking at a colleague focus group. So I also head up our colleague focus groups as a team of 6 or 7 of us who get together every 4 or 5 weeks and talk about the business, make improvements, lots of conversations about office dress and office politics, but mainly it's talking about like how we can make improvements, things like that.
Ah, good stuff, Emma. Great to hear that. So you mentioned you were the baby as well, but obviously Gary Clark's quite new at Rundles as well, isn't he?
He
Me,
is.
me, Alan, and him always have a bit of a joke with each other about who's the number one Clark in revenues, but we'll let the viewers decide that because I've got no views on that whatsoever. But you mentioned there about office attire, Emma. So one thing we've been asking everybody in this series is the subject of home working or office working. So, how does it work at Rundles? Is it flexible enough for people to work from home, or is it set days in the office? How does it work?
Well, most people are office based.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's fairly important actually in the role that we do and the industry that we're in, because let's face it, people in our contact centre are taking some pretty tough calls.
Mm.
And right from the beginning, we've always had the opinion that people need to be with other people if they're taking those difficult calls, and if they've had somebody that's threatening suicide, or somebody that's in a really vulnerable situation and they've offloaded a lot
Hmm.
to somebody in our contact centre, we think it's really important that they've got people around them to be able to go and have those conversations with and kind of deload a little bit. So yeah, most people are office based. Having said that, I'm home based. I've got work from home most of the time, but actually I go into the office more than I thought I ever would. Like I said, before I was at Rundles, I had 2 years at a big process outsourcing company, and I was completely home based, didn't have anywhere I could go into an office.
Hmm.
Do you know what? I just got so fed up of looking at the same 4 walls all of the time and couldn't get to speak to colleagues, or if I did, it was over Teams. And this is great, but it's not the same as having those in-person conversations. So actually, I find myself going into our office in Market Harbour 1 or 2 days a week now. And I'm not far away. I'm only in Northampton, and our office is in Market Harbour. So nice little 50-minute trip to Rundle up the road.
Yeah, not too far at all, is it? But yeah,
No.
so you mentioned before there, Emma, as well about you actually described the enforcement industry as exciting, which is not something that a lot of people would do. But
Really cheesy.
what's kind of the biggest myth about Rundles or enforcement in general, do you think? Because obviously there's been a lot of noise in the press recently about enforcement. Martin Lewis has made certain comments. Obviously the ECB's come in. So what's the biggest myth about enforcement for you?
So we'll take that. There's 2 questions. So first of all, the biggest myth about enforcement is that all of our enforcement agents are 6 foot to 7 foot bullies who intimidate people into paying. And where do they get that from? People just watch things like Can't Pay, Take It Away,
Hmm.
and listen to the likes of Martin Lewis. But genuinely, that is not the case. And I think that's the biggest myth. And you're probably aware that Amy Collins, our managing director, is current president of Civia. And one of her main objectives during her presidency is to try and kind of myth bust that, to be honest, and to try and change the perception and change the narrative in the public about what enforcement agents do. I've been out with enforcement agents several times, never ever see that intimidation. It's always a collaborative conversation on the doorstep. One of the biggest things about Rundles for me was walking into the contact centre, and the conversations that people have in the contact centre. People would walk in not knowing what we do, and I think they'd leave going, well, what are they? Because they're more customer service conversations. They're not aggressive conversations. You hear people say, oh, that's really nice, have a nice day, are you okay, is there anything else I can help with? So yeah, the biggest myth I would say is that we're all aggressive bullies, where that's just not the case. So many conversations we have with people are around supportive conversations, trying to understand people's circumstances, and even signposting them for support and help.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest myth about Rundles, I think, is that we're small. We hear this a lot. We'll have conversations at LASEF and IRRV events, and people say, Rundles, you're really small. And I think people confuse personal friendly with small.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got 90 local authority clients from as north as North Yorkshire, right down to the Isle of Wight, then east to west, kind of from South Gloucestershire over to Great Yarmouth. And I think because we do offer a different, really personal service to our clients, people think we're small, but we manage nearly 250,000 cases every year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're certainly not the small company that people seem to think we are.
No, that's true.
No, definitely not. And like I said, personal touches in enforcement seems to work, doesn't it? And like what you said there about the myth busting, because I think Amy herself even used to be an enforcement agent, didn't she?
She's got a certificate.
Yeah, so it just goes to show you, doesn't it, that they come in all different shapes and sizes, and some of the most effective ones I've seen have actually been female as well, where they have, like I say, they have those crunchy conversations with them, and they get the payments out. So sometimes, like I say, it can work either way, can't it?
But, I mean, wherever, to be honest, Tom, wherever I've worked, some of the most successful enforcement agents have been female.
Mm.
In fact, I remember a story of a female enforcement agent turning up at a property. She kind of sat there in a car going through the case. In front of her was a van, and she could see the door. There were two male, what she thought were enforcement agents. She saw the curtains twitch. The door wasn't answered. Two enforcement agents got back into the van and drove off. She was obviously there for a different case. I don't know the details, but she kind of went up to the door, smartly dressed, knocked on the door, the curtain twitched, and then the door opened, and she managed to get an arrangement, I believe, with that case.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes the perception is that people are happy to maybe open the door and have conversations with a female.
No,
I'm not going down that route though. I mean, I've worked in a few enforcement agents and done a few different roles, but yeah, enforcement agents not for me.
Fair enough. So you mentioned in your previous answer, Emma, there about the sort of the breadth of the UK that you cover for Rundle. So what kind of services do you provide for these local authority clients?
So we collect unpaid council tax, business rates, and PCNs predominantly. About 70% of our work is revenues based, so collecting unpaid council tax and NDR. But then we also collect things like adult social care debt, housing benefit overpayments, sundry debts. So a few other different services for local government.
No, are you seeing a rise in adult social care cases, Emma? Because certainly some of the councils I've worked at, we've noticed the arrears are just jumping up and up and up at the moment with different charging models. So it's interesting to see that enforcement are getting involved in those cases, because sort of talking like 5-10 years ago, everyone saw it as a really difficult thing to collect and quite tricky. Yeah. But are you seeing more of a push now towards collecting those via enforcement?
Certainly, councils are coming to us more often and saying, what can we do? How can we collect this debt? And they can see that the work we do where we're collecting council tax from potentially vulnerable people, we've already got the systems and the processes in place to make sure that we're identifying vulnerabilities. So they feel a bit more comfortable, I think, in giving us those cases to collect. But you're right, it's a difficult debt to collect. We don't do it for a huge number of local authorities, but yeah, we do some.
No, definitely, because you obviously can do like deferred payment arrangements and things like this, can't you? A lot of local authorities go down that route rather than, actual enforcement due to the nature of them. But no, I'm definitely seeing more and more of it, or even pressure more and more of it. But last one for me before Ian takes over for a bit, Emma. But what do you think makes Rundle's a little bit different to other enforcement agent firms in the market?
Well, this is going to sound really cheesy, but I think it's the
We like cheese, don't worry, it's fine.
you like
Yeah.
cheese. It really is the people.
Hmm.
It was amazed me when I first joined Rundles and walked into the office and sat down chatting to people. Like, how long have you been here? I've been here 15 years. How long have you been here? 20 years. And I really am the new girl. Everybody has been there so long. Um, and they just make it. I think they're a great bunch of people to work with, and they're really passionate about how they work and how they liaise with the customers. I'd also kind of go back to saying what we spoke about earlier on in the call, which was about having a really personalised service. So we don't have that one size fits all. We don't have a sausage machine of debt collection. A case doesn't come in and follow the same process until it either gets paid or returned to the council. We talk to every council about the process they want us to follow, the different stages, how long they want us to hold it for at compliance. Some councils, we do their triage for them. So they'll send us all their cases once they're at liability order stage, and we'll go through propensity to pay modelling and decide which ones are best for us to keep, which ones are not suitable for enforcement. But that's on a client by client basis. So we really work closely and make sure that the service we're delivering is exactly the service that the client wants. Right to the point where I think it was just last week we had a meeting with Mid Suffolk, who are one of our clients, and they've recently established like a veteran. I knew I'd get that word wrong. A veteran connect service to help veterans and their families. So they've asked us, if we're ever talking to any of their clients, can we ask the question, are you a veteran? Is there anybody in your family that's a veteran? Because we can actually offer you some specialist support and some special advice. So really, we offer a really bespoke service.
Okay. Thanks, Emma. That's really useful to understand what the company's about and what you're doing. I think both me and Tom can claim to be new boys quite often, really, because we moved around a lot and we've seen a lot of councils and a lot of similar issues, I think, between councils. But one of the questions I've got for you is around the challenges. And obviously you're dealing with, was it say 90 different councils? What sort of challenges are you seeing that they're bringing forward to you at the moment?
So I think it's fairly similar across the board. Councils are trying to do more, collect more with less resource. They want us to collect a lot more money for them, but at the same time, making sure that we're not collecting money from those that, financially vulnerable, those that really can't afford to pay. So I think that's probably the same across the board. It's the same for most of our clients. They're trying to do more with less.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing that as a common theme across not just enforcement agents, but all the sponsors that we've been talking to. That seems to be the issue that they're picking up from local authorities, and we can definitely vouch for that being an issue. So obviously new to Rundles, but not new to the industry. Well, how would you say that the sector's changed over time? What do you think is different now from the way it used to be?
It's massively different. So I think we're looking at 14 years, probably to the week that I first joined the enforcement industry. I think going back to that time, you either paid or you didn't pay. It almost in a simple way. If you didn't pay, that was it. We came and saw what goods we could take. Now it's a lot more professional. It's a lot more supportive. So one of our biggest departments is our welfare team. So as soon as we have a conversation with a customer, whether that's on the telephone, whether it's via WhatsApp, email, or whether it's via an enforcement agent knock on the door, if someone tells us they're vulnerable, or we establish that somebody has a hardship or vulnerability, or there's an issue there, we refer the case to our welfare team, who have a lot more training, and they've got the experience and the time to be able to go through that case with the customer and to really understand their circumstances. Whereas I just don't think that happened perhaps even 10 years ago.
Yeah, so basically sort of understanding a lot more from the customer's perspective. And I guess we've seen that in local authorities as well. And this is, I think, where there's there is a bit of a difference between your clients, I guess, where some local authorities have really got this off to a T, and others are still grappling with how do we do this segmentation and how do we work with you to do that.
Yeah, we really know. We profile every single case as we receive it. Every case has a propensity to pay. We're using credit data, and then each case will follow a slightly different path. So those cases that are potentially vulnerable based on the data that we've seen, they'll start in our welfare team.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll offer that support straight away.
So that's something you do when you first get the orders from the local authority. You cleanse that and go, okay, what do we know about these people?
Yeah,
yeah.
Because going back to again the kind of the myth busting that we're all bullies that just want to go and intimidate people on the doorstep. We absolutely don't. We only want to send enforcement agents around to those cases that can pay and won't pay. And by using data, we can try to identify as best as we can those cases, and the cases that maybe just need a more supportive approach, we can deal with those from the office just at the compliance stage.
Yeah, no, that's good. I guess that leads on to my next question. Really, is around innovation and the future, and sort of, have you got any new products that you're sort of looking at the moment? Any exciting developments within the organisation?
So we're using AI across the organisation in trying to determine the best methods of contact, the best time of contact based on each different cohort of person. We're looking at a brand new contact centre software that integrates AI and chatbots and WhatsApp, so it's a more holistic omni-channel solution. But I think for Rundles, it's important for us to look at technology, yes, but we're also very keen not to let it get in the way of actually the person at the end of the phone or the person at the other side of the door, because yes, AI can help in terms of helping us maybe speak to more people or communicate with people more effectively, but it will always be a person at the end of the phone, at the end of a WhatsApp message or at the door that needs to ultimately make the decision and ultimately be there to support the customer and to determine the next best step for that case, which isn't always necessarily removal of goods or full payment. It could equally be, returning the case to the council. It could be signposting involving the council safeguarding team. Those sorts of activities need a person at the end of that conversation to make the next best decision.
Well, that's an interesting response, because I think that's, again, what we're finding is that people are trying to embrace AI but being very cautious about it, which seems a sensible thing to do.
I mean, I'd like to think of myself as young and tech savvy. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'm not young and tech savvy, but I'd like to think I embrace technology. But I'll be on the phone. I had to phone the National Savings and Investment Company the other week, and it was blatantly a chatbot. And I know why they use chatbots. I know they're trying to give good customer service, but my first answer was, please let me speak to a human. And I just think, especially when we're talking to people that owe significant amounts of money to local authorities and potentially vulnerable, potentially have hardship issues, they need to speak to a human. And however good chatbots are, I don't know about you, but I can always tell.
Yeah, you can always tell, can't you? I mean, I don't know where I sit on that, Emma, really is. I think if I'm taking the effort to ring someone up, I'll always expect to speak to a human. But I think if I'm logging in online, I don't mind sometimes if it is like an AI engine, because sometimes it gives you the right answer. Other times it'll just say, I can't help you, I'll put you through to somewhere. I don't mind that. But I think, like you say, when you're actually ringing somewhere, I don't like it when that's what I think. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, no, I agree. If it's a simple thing and you just want a yes or a no or here's the answer, then it works fine. But quite often, by the time you've got to needing to make a call or log something, you kind of need to speak to somebody, because it doesn't always fit in the box, because you can usually work out the answer anyway, can't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Emma, you're talking about WhatsApp, weren't you? I was just in my mind, I was thinking of all the WhatsApp groups, for different things like pool, football chats and stuff like that. Maybe you could have like a Rundle's WhatsApp chat for people who need to pay or need some advice. What do you reckon?
So we do have WhatsApp for customers. In fact, we introduced it about 2 years ago, and it's just taken off massively, because it's a piece of technology and that the people are so used to using, aren't they? We all sit with our phones and use WhatsApp, like you say, to message your mates and to set up social gatherings and things. It's probably our biggest channel now. Most incoming messages come in through WhatsApp.
Well, it's encrypted, isn't it? And obviously, if you're anything like me, you just take screenshots of things on your phone as evidence and things like that. It is a lot easier, but like I say, I don't think. Well, I know a lot of councils aren't using it at the moment, but maybe it's something we should start to look at. But yeah, it's interesting that, like I say, you guys are using it already and how you can leverage that. No.
Yeah, it's just so much time. Well, not enough time and so many projects at the moment. I think it all comes back to this lack of resources that you mentioned, doesn't it? See, final one from me really is you've told us a few stories already. Is there any particular sort of story, project, piece of work that you're really proud of that you would like to share with our Severnside and Southwest members?
Yes, I think for me personally, I'm really proud of our Rundle's Reflect and Resolve conferences. So it's something I introduced last January when I joined Rundle's. We invited a few clients to come to our office to have some training and to meet the staff that they talk to day in, day out. I think we delivered some vulnerability training from our learning and development team as well, because that's what clients were telling us they wanted some training on. And the uptake was that great. We couldn't fit everybody into the room. We didn't have the space at our offices. So we took a lot of feedback from that event, and we talked to our clients to say, this feels like something that you really want to take part in. How can we develop this? And with all of that learning, we ran our first kind of major conference last September. And then our third conference was just in June, and I'm virtually finished the agenda for our November event. So these are genuine learning conferences. So this is about our clients from local government, local authorities coming together and learning, not listening to, dare I say, sales patters from different suppliers. It's about understanding what they want to learn about. We deliver those short bite-sized learning pieces at our conference, and they go away and they can genuinely put these things into practice when they go back to the office. So we've had sessions on things like communicating with people with neurodivergent conditions. We've had sessions on debt negotiation training. One of the most popular sessions we had at our last conference was practical use of AI. So there's a lot of AI conferences about how can you integrate systems using AI, but actually, how can you, Tom Clark, sitting Liverpool City Council, use ChatGPT or Copilot to make your life easier? And it was an hour and a half session, and people took away booklets and came back to say it was really, really useful. So really, really proud of those conferences. Clients are telling us that they really find great value in them, and we're getting to the point where we may have a waiting list for November.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed I couldn't make the last one. It did sound quite a good agenda. I think that's the problem we find in as association, is that the only issue is there are so many conferences now. It's difficult to prioritize which ones you can go to, but certainly, I did see the agenda for your last one and it looked really useful.
Oh, definitely.
We're having a panel session on local government reorganisation. Georgia Turner's joining us, who you'll know Georgia, Tom.
She came at this. I think she's a really good speaker. And what I like is she's kind of more about the comms, and the point that I loved that she made to the audience at the SF was she mentioned how with the new branding of the councils that's going to happen in 2028 or 2027, whenever it is, that quite often the council tax bill or the HP notice is the first branded thing that they'll receive, and you could see people, it was dawning on them like, oh yeah, you're right. And it's just really, really good. But she's been through it all at Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, hasn't she?
Yeah, so we've got a panel session of local government professionals that have either been through it, are going through it, or know they've got to go through it. So it's a real opportunity to talk about what's happened and what's going to happen, and people can learn from each other. And that's one of the things that people really said in the feedback. One of the most useful things they found from the event is just talking to colleagues. And in the afternoon of the first day in November, we're having a networking session where we're actually going to try and understand each person's individual problems or challenge they want to try and solve and pair them up. A bit like speed dating, really. Speed dating for local authorities.
Council speed dating, I love that.
Sounds good. Right, that's my list of questions. So I'm going to hand back to Tom to finish us off.
I was just trying to think who me and Ian would be paired with if we were there for that. But it's all good. But no,
Well,
I
honestly, still
think you're right,
places
Emma,
available.
though. And like Ian said before, like he's trying to work hard to work out which ones you want to actually attend. But that's certainly, I mean, like I said, Gary's been speaking to me about coming, but I'm busy at that time. I think it's in November, isn't it? I'm busy doing something else at that point. I can't remember. It might clash with, or it's very close to the Money Advice Liaison Group conference, and I'm on YouTube, but I'll whisper it. But my missus obviously isn't keen on me going to a lot of these things all the time because it means that she has to look after the kids when I'm away. So yeah, I pick and choose which ones I go to.
I
But
think
no,
Amy's talking at the Money Advice Liaison Group conference this
she
year.
certainly is, yeah. I
Yeah.
spoke on a panel with her at the national members meeting for MALG in London a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was me, her, and Carol Kenny, I think, from Cedar. So it's very similar to what you were just saying about the contact centre, actually, how it's more of a sort of a welfare customer service team rather than a debt collection team. So it certainly is echoing what you say. But I guess with the synergy there is key because obviously Rundles is very individual, but you're sort of part of the same conglomerate as Cedar, is that correct? Sort of how it's owned by the same people, isn't it?
Yeah, so we were bought by the Cedar Group. So that gives us the advantage of having access to their technology. We use
Yes.
their same platform, but we operate as an entirely separate
Steal and improve.
organisation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But Emma, if we were going to ask you to give one piece of advice to local authorities today, what would you be telling them and why?
I'd hate two things.
Of course you can. As
So-
long as it's nothing to do with added and social value, you can have two things, yeah.
No, absolutely not. So from an enforcement perspective and taking it back to, Rundles and what we do, my advice would be please get cases to us as early as you can, especially talking about council tax and business rates. The earlier we can get the cases, the better chance we have of collecting the cases. And if you have resource issues in triaging those cases, we can do that for you. So I think that's a really specific industry piece of advice. I think if I look at the wider local government and what's happening at the minute, and specifically with local government reorganisation, I would say embrace the change. It's a really unusual time where you've got multiple local authorities coming together to form single unitary authorities. That gives you the experience of 3, 4, 5, 6 local authorities. Use that opportunity to make things better. Use all those experiences from all those different local authorities, pull them together, embrace AI, embrace new technologies, and use it as an opportunity to make real change for the better.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely agree. Go on, Ian.
I was just going to say it's a good point. Instead of battling for your own corner, look at it from the whole perspective. Good point.
Absolutely. I'm team unitary all the way. I'm actually really happy. Not so much happy with some of the end councils. I think some of them, in my mind, I can't reconcile how where I live in Gloucestershire is just one big unitary.
Yeah.
But Worcestershire, which is like half the size, has got a north and a south. I don't quite understand how that works logistically. But so I can't get into the individual decisions. But in terms of unitary, I mean, like Ian's worked a few places as well. Like if I use Liverpool, where I work as an example, we see from a welfare perspective, we see everything from a local authority now. Whereas at a district council, we just have our Revs and Ben's hat on. We now get to see the public health side of it, the adult social care side of it, the housing side of it, all under one lens. And that's why I think when you have these initiatives like Crisis and Resilience Fund, you can design something really powerful that will help a lot of people. Whereas if you're in a tiered council and you just get given a few pieces of change from them, you can't really do much with it other than reduce people's council tax or give them some food vouchers. So
I think it's better from a customer point of view as well, because there's a whole tell us once thing, isn't there?
Yes.
Whereas, unitary councils, you've got lots of services you might interact with.
Yes.
Hopefully you've got one system that will talk to all your other systems.
Yeah.
Well, I'd settle. I think we'll have to wait a bit for one system, maybe. I think it's taking some councils maybe 3-4 years to get one system going for it. But
I've got no idea how Devon's going to manage, because that is, I mean, apart from Plymouth, Exeter, and Torbay, and then it's all the other bits. That's going to be horrendous. Different systems, different parishes coming together. It's going to, that doesn't make sense.
absolutely, and I think I've got obviously on the ASF board we've got Kate Kelly and Zoe Warren, and from what we hear in Huntingdonshire, it's going to be split right down the middle. So in my mind, straight away, I'm thinking, well, which council do the employees work for? Like, how would you work that out? Imagine if one side of your street's in one council and one's in the other. It's crazy, isn't it? But I'm sure it'll work out, and it's going to be a lot of noise. And one thing that has frustrated me recently in the last year or so is, well, they were called the District Councils Network, and they're now called the Local Government Network because they realised that district councils are on a bit of an expiry date, I guess. But the narrative from them was like, keep councils local, blah, blah, blah. But they're failing to recognise, like some of the points that we made today, is that I'm not saying that bigger is always better for a council, but more resources is always better, and you can do better things with it. That's certainly my view. But we'll see how it goes, because some people are going to make a real good fist of it, and others are probably just going to moan about the name of the council and whatnot, and see what
Like the logo.
Oh, logo, exactly. I mean, we had Ian and I go to the Visionary Network sessions on Monday with Malcolm Gardner, and somebody you probably know from Bristol and Suter, but Peter Hayward was talking about how it was uproar in Lancashire because they were trying to put Blackburn in the name of the council that Burnley was going into, and nothing would move. And it's all these kind of like primitive things that we're going to see, I think, in the next couple of years. But be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, I think you're right to embrace it. I completely agree that they need to it's going to happen. They just need to embrace it and see what opportunities it brings, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the final questions we've got for you today, Emma, and like I said, Ian and I are going to have a word bubble at the end of this of all the people we spoke to from the sponsors. But we're asking you to describe the future of local government in one word, and tell us what the word is, first of all, and then explain why you chose that word, please. And you can take any word you like. Positive, negative, or not.
What did I write? Do you know what? I think we've already covered this. I think it's transformative.
Yeah.
I think transformative. Let's use this opportunity with change.
No.
Let's use this opportunity and this emerging technology that's coming at a rate of knots to the best of our advantage. Transform local government to be a service that customers are proud to work with.
Nice one.
That's a good word. Like I say, we don't think we've had that one before, so there's a range of positive and negative ones. So that's a good one, though. I think transformative, really, really good. So Emma, if people following today's session want to find out a bit more about Rundles, how do they get in touch with you?
Rundles.org.uk or email ewatson@rundles.org.uk, or come and see us on stand 64 at Telford. Don't quote me on the stand number, but everybody knows where Rundles are at Telford.
Usually up at the top. Yeah.
Usually at the top. Usually with some fun activities.
Yeah, what was it? I think it was a step machine or a dance machine last year, wasn't it?
Dance machine last year. Somebody from Salford Council took away the Rundles Glitter Ball trophy, which was handmade by our fair hands with some blood, sweat and tears.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I can't tell you what we're doing this year. You'll have to come and find us and see what fun activity you can win this year.
Okay, so you mentioned there the IRRV annual conference in Telford, Emma. You've mentioned your Resolve and Reflect. Was it called Resolve and Reflect conference?
Yep, Reflect and Resolve conference.
Any other events that Rundles are attending in the near future?
We'll be at Ascendant by the Sea at the end of the month. The National Mal Conference.
Yep.
In your neck of the woods, isn't it? It's in Liverpool, isn't it?
It's at George's Hall, yeah.
I think that's it for this year.
No, good stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, thanks very much for that, Emma. Really, really good chat. That's episode 5 finished. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers. Thank you all.